Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Chris Harris. I'm a certified financial planner, and today we're going to be talking about a question I get all the time, and that is, when is the best time to take Social Security? I think this can be very kind of daunting to figure out because you hear all these different opinions about when the best time to take it, and as if you don't, you miss out, and all this and that and the other. So I wanted to shed some light on Social Security, hopefully in a simplistic way, and I'm going to do an example on a financial plan to really show you how this thing works, okay? So hopefully it's beneficial, but as a disclaimer, this is for informational and educational purposes only, and you should consult your own financial professional for your individual needs because this is a very individual thing, okay? So let's dive into it. So Social Security, okay? We know it's something that we want, right? We've been paying into it. And if you've been paying into it, you have been earning credits, specifically 4 credits per year is the max you can earn year. Okay, so 4 credits a year. You earn a lifetime of 40 credits. And if you do that, if you earn those credits over your lifetime, you are considered fully insured, okay? So we have 40 credits, 4 credits per year. The Social Security Administration will take the top highest earning credits, and that is what will be used for your benefit, okay? And then we also have currently insured, which is a lesser amount of credits that you've earned, and then you miss out on benefits, but you're still eligible for some. We're not going to get into it, but so Social Security, and we have eligibility benefits. So we know we can take a fully insured worker can take Social Security at age 62. That's when you can start taking your benefit. So there's that one. And then a worker who is disabled is entitled to benefits if they are under age 65 and have been disabled for 12 months and expect to be disabled for at least 12 months. Okay, so then there's a benefit there. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. There's some nuances to a lot of these, but just for simplicity, we're gonna keep this nice and simple. So spousal benefits, age 62 or over. So if you are married to a fully insured, you can take roughly 1/2 of their benefit. Or if you're fully insured and your spouse is fully insured, then you get to choose which one's higher, the spousal benefit or your benefit. Okay, but whichever one you choose, you're gonna be locked in at. We're gonna have the surviving spouse. So if they are a widow or a widower, and they are age 60 or over, then they get a benefit. And then also if they have children, there's some other nuances there as well. A divorced spouse. So a divorced spouse, if you've been divorced and you're at least age 62, but you've been divorced for at least 2 years, then you can receive the benefit. But you need to have been married for 10 years and not married. Okay, so 10 years, not married, and then you can receive your, benefit from your ex-spouse. Okay, so that's kind of just the rundown, hopefully very simple on the eligibility and benefits. Again, not an exhaustive list, but let's dive into our sample clients here, Chris P. Bacon and Marsha Mello, to see how this really works, right, in an actual scenario. Because, again, we can just, throw things at the wall and take Social Security at 62 and, be fine, but what impact could that potentially have? So we look at their net worth. So they have 1.9 million in net worth. They have just over $1 million in investments. They currently, let's go back here, are age 55 and 54 for Marsha. They have a retirement age of 65. So that's when they both want to retire. And then life expectancy, which is a big deal. I mean, this is one of the ones that it's very hard to predict. Obviously, we don't know when we're going to die. But if we want our assets to last as long as we think we're going to live, then that's something that we have to adjust the plan for, right? So if we're extending out, we want to live to 100, which is, it's possible. But if our family members only live till 80, our grandparents, our parents, or uncles, aunts, and their average life expectancy was 80 or 70 or whatever it is, then we can kind of gauge that off of that, right? So genetics play a big role. But this is all we're trying to forecast the best we can to see how long we think we're going to live, because this is going to be a big factor on how we take Social Security. Not the only factor, but it's going to be a big factor. So as we look at income for both, so we look at Chris's earnings at $300,000 per year, and then Marcia, she has an earnings of $50,000 per year. We have Chris's Social Security is estimated to be at just over $44,000 per year, and this is based off of him starting at age 65. Same thing with Marcia. She is going to be starting at age 65, and she'll be earning roughly $19,000 per year. Okay, so we are going to see. Okay, we know Chris's full retirement age is 67 years old. So let's compare some options, and this is really where we can compare options, and we can see visually how Social Security can affect our retirement benefits. Okay, so as we can see at age 62, Chris would get $35,600. Marcia would get around $17,600. But if they were to wait until the full retirement age, which is 67 for both, Chris would take a big leap up. Okay, so as you can see that, that's a significant jump from that $35,000 to the $51,000, and then Marcia would also increase her benefit as well. So that's a nice, chunk of change there. So as we can see here on this graph, how big of a jump that is. And then we also, if we were to extend out even to age 70 for both, Chris would take 63.5 and Marcia would be 28.7. Okay, so currently, the current strategy, so if we were to take at 65, is best if we live between 76 and 78. Okay, so this is telling us that, well, if we don't live as long as we think we're going to live, well then let's start taking the benefit now, right? That we're going to get the most out of our benefit. But if we think we're going to live a little bit longer, so if we think our life expectancy is between 78 and 82, well, then your full retirement age is going to be more advantageous for you, okay, as we can see here at the chart. Well, let's take it a step further. So if we say, well, let's fully extend out to age 70, if we think we're going to live until 82 and 81 for both Chris and Marcia, or later. Okay, so that's something that it's if we do think we're going to extend out, which Chris and Marcia feel like they are going to live until 100, then age 70 is the best. Now, you're probably saying, well, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but I can't extend out until 70 because I'm not going to have a job. I'm going to stop working at age 65, and so I'm going to have a 5-year gap, and I don't have anything to pull on. Okay, and that's definitely a possibility. So again, we're working through this in phases to see, again, longevity. We're looking at what's the best option, and now we got to look at cash flow, right? How are we going to provide cash flow so that we can actually live in retirement? Okay, so with this scenario, we are going to come into our planning part of this, and we are going to pull up this chart. So hopefully this becomes easy to understand, but we have our base case. Our base case is something, I'm going to move my mug out of the way so you can see. But our base case is wrong button. Our base case is where we're at today. okay, based off of our goals, based off of the assumptions we've put in. And as you can see here, our assets, we build up, then we retire. Well, we got to live off those assets, and we drain our assets, okay? So that doesn't look as good as we would have hoped, but we can run what's called a Monte Carlo simulation. And some people don't like this, some people do. But it's more of a statistical measure of the probability of success, and how long our assets are going to last. So if you go back to high school or junior high math, the bell curve, right? So the median here, 50th percentile, we're going to have a negative over $600,000, meaning we're going to draw down our portfolio enough to where we actually need more assets. We don't have enough assets to live. This is showing 42% probability of success. And so it's not very likely that we're going to reach our retirement goals, okay, with this current situation that we find ourselves in for the client. Now, let's turn on Social Security, okay? So we already know if we take Social Security at 62, well, that's actually going to drain us even more because we actually lost $655,000 of total value. Okay, so we actually do a pretty good here at the very beginning of retirement because we have that, extra little bit of cash flow, but we deplete it too quick because of how much we spend. Okay, well, let's go to full retirement age. So if we went to full retirement age, well, that's starting to look a little bit better. So we start to draw on some of our portfolio assets at the beginning, but because we have an increased benefit, we're actually able to maintain portfolio assets for an additional 2 years. So we actually gain almost $30,000. Okay. Well, what happens if we take it at 70? So as you can see, the drop up front on our portfolio assets are bigger, but we're actually able to increase the amount of income we get per year. And so that's going to help us last until death, which it's going to add on another 7 years of funding. So our assets will last us until age 100. The total value gained is $621,000. Now, if we were going to go to statistically look at this probability of success again, that's with that 1,000 randomly generated market scenarios, we are able to see that we have a 58% probability of success. That doesn't quite sit well. I mean, yeah, it's possible, but that's if things go really well. If we kind of benchmark this and look at it instead of a linear graph, we could do that. That could be okay, right? That's something that we could say, hey, it's not we don't feel as confident about it, but it's something that we could definitely, shoot for. But at the end of the day, it's not making me feel, it's not sitting really good with me. So how do we increase that probability of success? Well, for these two, we're going to recommend just retiring at 68 for both. And as you can see, now we're pretty comfortable. Okay. And if we want to run that, Monte Carlo simulation again, 94% probability of success. So it becomes really powerful, right? So it's not just, hey, let's take Social Security at 62. It's not just, hey, let's take it at full retirement age. But maybe it's, hey, let's look at how long we think we're going to live. Let's look at the benefit and the increase in delaying that benefit. And do we have, portfolio assets to draw on to then supplement our income while we wait? Because once we have that Social Security benefit increased, it stays at that increased level with, cost of living adjustments, right? So they'll have some kickers there. But once you take Social Security at, say, age 62 or full retirement age or whatever it is, you're locked in, right, at that level. Still with adjustments, but you're going to be locked in, and that can really affect your financial plan. So as you start to think about taking Social Security, that's something to think about is, again, how long do I think I'm going to live? How do I, much more benefit am I going to get if I wait, if I defer? How am I going to draw on portfolio assets? If we don't have portfolio assets to draw on to make the gap, then maybe we do need to take it earlier, right? So all those things are something that we need to think about and consider, especially as we're working through a financial plan. So I hope that this helps. Feel free to reach out with any questions, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks.